I guess I think about what you spoke about, like power and like how students can act and like can kind of change things. Can you maybe elaborate a little bit more on that and kind of give us suggestions, I guess, from your perspective of how you feel like students can best maybe impact universities and like how we can best achieve this?
So some immediate things that you can do as current students is to talk with those people who are delivering programs to you, and to request and demand that they actually start to talk about the wider context and the big picture. And if you can do that en masse, then those kinds of responses then have got to be heard by the faculty, by the departments. So that's one way in which you can start. But something else that you can do, which is much more disruptive and would take more organising, would be for you to talk with people who aren't yet at university and who are in the position of potentially making choices about what to study and where to go. And that is one of your biggest levers of power. That's where you can start to be maximally disruptive. It's very controversial, I agree, but it would be maximally disruptive. And what you would then be doing would be encouraging students to think about the consequences of the programs of studies they're about to embark on, and to invite them to consider studying elsewhere. And the reason it's so important is because all universities predict, and their financial planning is all based on anticipated student numbers. So they will assume that student numbers from year to year will vary, by, sort of small margins. And I can say this because I've run a university in the past. If you can disrupt that, if you can disrupt the flows of students, you will immediately have the spotlight on you. You will be showing and demonstrating that you understand where your power sits and that you can use it. And if you wanted to discuss such a campaign or think about a campaign, I would be delighted to help you.
Thank you. I think we would love to follow up on that and maybe like have a meeting with you to talk more about like our international campaign as well. So I think we have quite a few questions, 2 raised hands and 1 in the chat. Maybe I'll start with Anna and then move on to the one in the chat and then go on to HP. So Anna, if you'd like to maybe ask your question first.
Hello, Alison. Hello, everyone. My name is Anna. I'm from Uniclima, the local climate students in Brazil. So I'm wondering about like the curricular change and how we should adapt it to depending on the course, on the department. So, but the thing is, at least in my university, we have a lot of older teachers, professors, and I feel like they are not really willing to make those curricular changes and get up to date with the newest science. So I was wondering if you have any advice on how to approach them and what we can offer them in return.
Okay, so with people who are more established and more conservative, if you like, in their teaching, then the kind of sticks approach might not work. What you can do is incentivize changes. You can talk about the ways in which their course approval ratings might go up if they start to teach the kinds of things that you need and want. So if you can find evidence, for example, of students having talked with their lecturers, with their professors about what they want, and then that having a positive influence on how that person's teaching is perceived, that's a massive incentive. So you can incentivize, you can be very clever about, the kinds of ways in which you point out, what you want your lecturers to do and what's in it for them.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I think for the next question, Betty Lou from the chat asked, where could we find the information about whether an educational institution is doing harm to the people and planet? Like, I guess how we can research it. I know People and Planet in the UK is a good resource, but I guess maybe for countries, especially that do not have such a developed framework and things like that, do you have any advice on that part as well?
It's such a good question. You could look at the overall curriculum and look at all of the courses they're offering, and try and take a view on whether they're offering courses that are friendly towards the environment, if you like, or are they offering courses that still anticipate the same old the same old kind of, you know, situation that we're currently in. So you could look, for example, at their geology teaching. I mean, because geology is closely associated with the fossil fuel industry. So are they still talking about those old extractivist methods, or are they actually looking at, you know, renewables? You could look at the engineering curriculum as well to see whether they are supporting renewables and those sorts of things. You could look at the social sciences curriculum, and a key indicator of how progressive an institution is are things like their economics curriculum and their business curriculum. So are they advocating the same old MBAs, you know, Masters in Business Administration? Are they advocating classical economics, or are they much more proactively promoting things like ecological economics? You know, are they looking at different kinds of MBAs that sort of look at the different measures of GDP? Are they teaching degrowth? That's a really good indicator as to how, you know, how avant-garde, if you like, an institution might be. So there are some indicators that you can go for. You can ask about their revenue from fossil fuel companies. You know, how much money are they actually accepting for research? You know, are any fossil fuel companies actually funding any posts in the department? So there are certain things that you can do. It will take a little bit of work to do that kind of research, but it's worth doing to look at the green credentials of your institution.
Thank you. I think that's a great answer and a good start, I think, for a lot of student groups that are thinking of maybe starting their own campaign. I think now we can move on to Geoffrey from Uganda, the HP, who has his hand raised. I think he also has a question for you.
Well, thank you very much. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, thank you very much for this kind of sharing, Doctor. My name is Geoffrey from Uganda. I'm a climate activist under the Green Life Network MOVES chapter. Yeah, I love the idea of you saying that the students from universities are not really too much embracing this issue of climate. But one challenge we are facing this side of Uganda is, I think we are not having connections with the right people to help us fight the cause. But because you find there are those who are really interested in the move for fighting against climate change, but what is the motivating factor at the end of the day? We don't have people to motivate us. We are not having many on board to come and join us. But I strongly believe now that you've said we can reach out to you and we try to connect and create ties. I think that ties is going to really help us a little much better. If maybe we could maybe connect and you share with us your email and we engage more and see how we build this, because we are really too much interested and we feel we are the future, because the old people that we think are living right now, they are now living their last days on this earth, and we are the young ones that are going to face the challenge in the nearby future to come. So if we can't fight, then we are living no more as well. We may live shorter than the people that have lived longer than us. Thank you very much, Dr. Alison.
You're welcome. So one point I'd like to make, that, and it's your point about connections and not having connections. So the new venture that I'm a part of is working with a consortium of people, of academics who've developed some MOOCs, some free online educational resources. And what we hope to do, subject to funding, is to put together a collection of resources so that we can offer these resources to the Global South, students in the Global South, at a much, much reduced rate, so that we can kind of circumvent some of those problems with connections that you have and actually give you the kind of education that you need, but at a much, much cheaper rate than would be the case otherwise. So that's something, again, I'd like, you know, we can talk through the conference organisers about that new work that I'm doing and how we can work with you and how you can help us shape that.